How's it going, Rogues Gallery? I just got back from shoutcasting Ascent Seattle, and oh, do we have a ton of Grand Archive news to talk about. Everything from Grand Archive being at EVO, yes, the fighting game tournament, to a huge VTuber collab, to the reveal of the next set. We have so much to talk about. It's really, really exciting, man. Grand Archive is absolutely doing an impeccable job, a stellar job in the TCG industry as, well, you know, a humble anime style card game that came up from Kickstarter, and it's just kind of it's running the lot as kind of like this indie project, which is really, really cool to see, right? So yeah, we're gonna dive in and talk about all that kind of stuff. I even have some fun stuff to share that we'll showcase at the end of this. This is just my media badge from the event. So we're gonna talk about all the exciting news first, and then I'll talk about my Ascent Seattle experience, and we'll just talk about all that kind of stuff. And I have some, like I said, I have some cool stuff to show off. So yeah, stick around for that. So let's go ahead and just jump into our overlay. And as I mentioned before, Grand Archive is going to be featured at EVO. I do believe they're going to have like a booth at EVO, as well as Combo Breaker, and the middle one, I can't remember if it's called CEO or CO, but they're going to be at all of these events, which is just absolutely wild. The fact that Grand Archive is going to be at EVO before a game like Flesh and Blood, which everyone says it's like, oh, Flesh and Blood is just like a fighting game. And well, here we have Grand Archive being at the actual fighting game tournament before Flesh and Blood, which I think is just really, really funny. If you've watched the recent Grand Archive streams, you'll know that the overlays kind of like do a good job to make it feel like a actual fighting game, which I think is also just very cool. The production value and the production quality just in general has gone up so much since that first Ascent, since Ascent Houston last year. And I want to remind everyone, Grand Archive isn't even 2 years old yet. It's not even 2 years old yet, and they're doing this kind of stuff already, which is very, very exciting. Once again, especially for an indie project that it's its own IP, right? So it's just building its own thing up from scratch, which is just wild. Speaking of which, let's talk about the announcement that Grand Archive is going to be collabing with Niji Sanji, one of the biggest VTuber organizations, and specifically Hoshikawa Sarah. And so this is kind of like a really big deal as Grand Archive expands into the non-Western world. As you know, it's already picking up a lot of traction in Southeast Asia. I've heard that Ascent Kuala Lumpur is going to be the biggest Ascent yet, and this is going to be one of Grand Archive's first like big official pushes into Japan, an area that's already started to pick up Grand Archive, which once again I think is absolutely crazy, considering that it's not even translated into Japanese yet. Well, we are going to have some cards translated into Japanese with these, which is once again very cool. So yeah, let's kind of talk about it and showcase it. So we're gonna have 3 cards that are gonna be Japanese exclusive promos that well, folks from the West can pick up if you're attending Ascent Akihabara for one of them, and the other 2 are gonna be at various other Japanese related events and that kind of stuff. And as I mentioned, it's just started to pick up traction over in Japan. I want to give a shout out to places like the Evo Cafe in Japan, not to be confused with the Evo fighting game tournament, but there's an Evo Cafe in Japan that's a card game cafe, and they've been doing a lot of Grand Archive stuff, which is great. So if anyone from there is watching this, hey, yo, shout out to you. But yeah, so let's talk about this. So Grand Archive and Hoshikawa Sarah, we're gonna have Fast Cure, Terrafring, and Retold Fortune, as well as this CSR version of the Retold Fortune. So the way you get the Fast Cure is that it's going to be at Anime Japan in 2025, which is this year, which is going to be on March 22nd to March 23rd, which at the time of this recording is just like pretty close. It's only like, what, 5 days away. And any attendees who go to the booth can get one of these for free, which is just really, really cool. It says it will be available for free to attendees who visit their booth. So yeah, that's great. I actually would love a full playset of these because it's just a fantastic looking card, and it's a really, really good playable card. And then the second card, Terrafring, which once again, I would absolutely love at least one copy of this Terrafring, because it's just a staple playable card. This is going to be introduced as part of local event pricing at select partner stores in Japan. So this is like kind of like, you know, a more promotional push to grow Grand Archive in Japan. I hope we see a actual Japanese translation and localization soon, but I think this is just a great start to do it, especially, you know, rewarding those LGSs that are already carrying it, like Evo Cafe, like I mentioned. And, you know, it's a really cute Terrafring. And then finally we have Retold Fortune. And this one's going to be available for general ticket holders for Ascent Akihabara, with, you know, foil versions available for the VIP holders and all that kind of stuff, which is going to be happening later this year in November. And the top 100 players at Ascent Akihabara will get a CSR version of this card. So if you are attending Ascent Akihabara, I keep calling it Akihabara, but anyway, Akihabara, if you're going to Ascent Akihabara, you can pick up one of these Retold Fortunes. Am I going to be going? I don't know yet. I would very much like to, but we'll see what happens. I think it'd be a lot of fun, and I think it's going to be really cool. And I love that they're doing this. So this is the second big piece of news we're talking about that was revealed at Ascent Seattle. Now we have our third and biggest piece of news for Grand Archive fans. We have Distorted Reflections, the latest Grand Archive set that is going to be coming out, and this is going to be one of their bigger sets that has starter decks and all that kind of good stuff, right? Grand Archive has this cadence of they have a big set, and then they have like a supplemental set that kind of like, you know, adds support to the big set. This is going to be one of the big sets with a brand new setting and some brand new characters, as well as a returning character, which you've already seen in the thumbnail, as well as right here. So let's kind of jump into the product sheet. I have some extra images to show as well. They were shown at they were shown at the Ascent, but anyway, let's kind of check it out. So, yep, we have Distorted Reflections, and as you can see here, it is, you know, through the looking glass, Alice in Wonderland kind of themed set, but it also has some like really dark tones, which is, ooh, I'm really into that. I was one of those people who was really into Alice, the game Alice and Alice Madness Returns. For those of you who used to watch my old Let's Play channel, you might have seen my Madness Returns Let's Play, to the one person out there that applies to. But yeah, I'm really into this. It looks awesome. Like I'm like very into it. I'm not going to read this verbatim, by the way. I would highly recommend taking the time to actually just read this about the world setting and the conflict. There's basically like these parallel worlds going on here with Wonderland, and then what's the name of the other place? Lucenia, which is the other world, you know, beyond the looking glass. And so there's kind of like a conflict between the two, and you know, and all that good stuff. We do have a release date, which is July 25th. We have all of the stuff you'd come to expect, as well as MSRP for both the pack and the box, as well as the card breakdowns. As you can see here, I think it's very similar to what we can kind of expect in terms of just like, you know, the set size and all this kind of good stuff. There is going to be a CUR, which has been kind of like the cadence for the last couple sets. There is just one CUR, 15 CSRs, which is a decent amount, 8 URs, and so on. But let's take a look at some of the new characters, specifically new best husbando, Ciel. So this is Ciel, Mirage's Grave, and they kind of teased this character with everyone's Ascent packages at Seattle, because as I reach over, we got like these like bunny masks, which you can see that Ciel, he's got the bunny mask, and there's a whole thing with Ciel, and you know, he gets stronger when he dons the mask, his true power is revealed when his mask is donned. Who is the real Ciel? He is a Umbra Guardian. So this is for the starter deck, which is going to be a Fire Umbra Guardian deck, and I think he just looks absolutely fantastic. Great to get more like cool male characters. I think he's almost instantly my favorite male character in the game. He reminds me, obviously, I think, you know, like Black Butler kind of vibes, but he also reminds me of I forget his name. He's the butler from Hellsing, who's got the Walter. I think it's Walter, who's got like the strings and stuff. Yeah, looks super cool. And if you're curious right now, for folks who have been around the channel and they know what I do every time starter decks come out, yes, I am going to be hosting another starter deck event for Distorted Reflections, which is going to be an event that we have participation pricing. Basically, the idea is for people who want to get into Grand Archive, who are returning to Grand Archive. It is a very new player, casual player friendly event where everyone gets prizing. We'll have to determine what it is. I have had official prize support from Weebs of the Shore before with like event packs and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna have to ask Weebs if they want to provide some official support for this event again. But traditionally speaking, they've been pretty well received, I would say. And for most of the events, we cap out or almost cap out, usually around like 40 players, because I run everything myself. I can't really handle an event bigger than that by myself, but hopefully it'll have official prize support. Everyone will get prizing, and we'll have a raffle for bonus prizing, playmats, and all that kind of stuff. So, yep. And so we have Ciel, and then the second character is Diana returning. What's really cool about Diana, well, first of all, she's awesome, but other than that, she keeps her class. So she was a ranger before, and she's gonna stay a ranger. However, she has a new advanced element. She now is an Astra ranger. Previously, she was Umbra, and I'm really interested to see how that ties into the story with Ciel being Umbra, and now Diana is Astra, which is very cool. So, yep, Diana is a fan favorite. Really cool to see a returning character here. Absolutely, I love the vibes. By the way, she is going to be a water deck. I honestly just couldn't be more stoked. Here's some more stuff about organized play stuff. Launch kits, event kits, this kind of stuff. Here's the map policy. So the cheapest you can get a booster box is 75 or 70-ish. $76-ish, and same for like cases and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, absolutely stoked for this set. Every Grand Archive set is just so exciting. They do a great job of making a really cool and interesting world with absolutely beautiful cards. And so they showed a little more of this stuff in the keynote. So here is some of the art from the set, and you can kind of see, like what I said, they've got this like dark vibe to it. And so here's like this I don't know, like a stitched together princess. She has like, it looks like she's stitched together from like other body parts or something, very Tim Burton-esque. And you can kind of see a little bit of the vibes with like this weapon. I believe this looks like Ciel's sword. And then we also have more bits of art here. I think this is Diana's staff, which maybe can convert into like a bow or something. I don't think this is Diana's staff. I think this one is. But there's also this other piece of artwork here that is kind of definitely Ranger bow themed. And looks like we're gonna get more bows instead of guns, which is very interesting. I know a lot of folks wanted more bow type stuff for the Rangers. And once again, the art looks absolutely beautiful. All right, so now let's go ahead and we're going to talk about Ascent Seattle and how it went, and we're gonna kind of hop back to me before jumping into some actually, you know what, let's jump back. So we'll just cover quickly the winner and the meta of Ascent Seattle before we jump into like my little story time. So Caven ended up winning Ascent Seattle with kind of like the breakout deck of the weekend, which is this the Water Fractals deck. And now there's like a couple different variations of the Water Fractals deck over the weekend. He was piloting the most common one, which is the Dao Chan version, but we also saw a Kong Ming version, we saw a Vanitas version, and we saw some versions of this deck that would pivot into Arizona, mainly a lot of folks from Team Main Deck, for the Allies matchup, because this deck is traditionally, or not traditionally, it's a new deck, but this deck was thought by a lot of the competitive players to be weak against the Allies, the deck, which it is. And so some people teched their decks to be good against that. Caben actually had an incredible run in the top 8. Obviously, he won, but I don't want to spoil it too much if you haven't seen it yet. Just the matches are really good, and he had some of the hardest matchups he could have gotten in the top 8. And definitely worth watching. One of them against one of my personal favorite decks of all time, Fire Xander. So yes, Fire Xander actually made it into the top 8. And I do want to say, just from an overall meta perspective, I think it was really cool. A lot of folks may have just been talking about the the Breakout Fractals deck, which it had a pretty high representation, but in the top 8 there's only 3 Fractals decks in the top 8, as well as there was, oh man, I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head. There's a Wind Allies, so that's 4. There was the Fire Xander, there was Luxem Xander, which was kind of like it's like a Wind Luxem kind of Xander list. There was, what were the other 2? Oh, there's a Fire Guoja. What's the other one? I'm blanking on it. But yeah, it was only 3 of the Fractals deck, and it was pretty varied beyond that. So it'll be really interesting to see how the meta shifts as we kind of like progress into national season. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a really interesting Worlds. The Fractals deck is really good, but it's not like 100% beatable. It's not like a tier 0 kind of thing, at least not right now. I think there's a lot of counterplay, and there's a lot of room for changing the cards up in the deck. My personal favorite deck of the weekend out of the new stuff is the Fire Dao-Chan. There might have been a Fire Dao-Chan in the top 8 as well. We didn't see that one on camera. But there was a couple different versions of the Fire Dao-Chan deck. There's one that kind of leaned more into Fractals, or not Fractals, but Phantasias. Did run some Fractals, but leans more into Phantasias and had some of the Fantasia allies, which I think is like very sweet. And then there's another one that's a little bit more aggro focused, a little more ally focused, that I particularly really liked, that had a really good run on day 1, that I'm definitely going to be building soon whenever I get the cards to do that. Fire Bloom Flourish is like such an awesome card. So that's kind of like the overall meta. I think it's actually a really cool and varied meta. We'll have to see how it kind of like transitions. But when you even look at the breakdown of the elements, it was like there was almost the same number of water and fire, and then wind was like just a little bit behind them. So it's like a pretty varied metagame just in general. Very cool. So now we'll hop back to me, and I'll just talk a little bit about Ascent Seattle, and I'll throw up some B-roll that I kind of took while I was there. So overall, the event I think went very well. It had a decent turnout. It was like a little bit under 300 players, if I remember correctly, and yeah, absolutely fantastic in terms of just overall atmosphere. Weebs of the Shore does an incredible job of making you feel like immersed with all the characters. There's like art and banners and stuff everywhere. Production, I think, went really well, other than a couple like technical hiccups that were kind of just like this unforeseen stuff, and that literally happens at every tournament that I'm at. This was the kind of Ascent that didn't have like a bunch of artists or vendors and that kind of stuff, but the merch store was very like robust. And now we're gonna come back to me, and I'll show you some stuff that I kind of like picked up at the merch store, and that I kind of picked up at the event. Here's some of the stuff that I got as part of the VIP package, because I got a VIP package. Here is the foil Incapacitate, which looks really good. We got a play set of these. For the VIP package, you got a play set of the foil Incapacitates, which I will definitely be running in my various assassin decks. I literally have 3 assassin decks all built up. We got a play set of the non-foil Incapacitates. Because I was casting all weekend, I still have my side event tickets. I was gonna try to like sell these to some folks who might be able to use them, for a little bit cheaper than what it would cost normally, but I was very busy, working, so wasn't able to do that, unfortunately. Obviously, I showed off my media badge, which is cool. I kind of collect these now, just have them all in the back. We got our Ascent deck box. So anyone who has certain packages, you get one of these cool deck boxes. This one's interesting, actually, because it has a different material than the other ones that I have. The other ones I have are kind of like faux leather or kind of like foamy. This one is kind of like silky. I don't know how to describe it other than that. It's kind of like silky. It does say Ascent, and on the inside, it's still new, so it still has this paper in it. Let me take the paper out. It's Guoja. it's got a Guoja in here, which is very cute. So, yeah, these are nice. I like these. I have a bunch of them, and I like them so much that I actually bought another one. So they had some at the merch store. They had a lot of options at the merch store. They had like acrylic figures or little acrylic standees. They had deck boxes, play mats, booster packs, booster boxes, all that kind of good stuff. This is the other deck box. I went to the merch store and I bought this. And so let me show you. This one is, I forget her name. I just call her Eye Patch Girl. They had Cow Cow. By the way, I'm sorry if I said that name wrong. But they have Eye Patch Girl, who's awesome. Look at it. Looks great. And so this one is not one of the ones that has the image on the inside. It's just kind of got the ranger pattern on the inside, but it's got the character on the outside. And it has a little chibi version. There you go. A chibi version. And it just looks really nice. So I picked up one of these. I think this was $40. I also bought a shirt, which I probably should have went and got the shirt, but I bought an Arasana shirt. I wore it on day 2 for day 2 casting, so day 1 bought the shirt, day 2 wear it, you know. As part of the package, I also got these little gemstone spin downs, which are, get this in focus, which are really nice. You get these as part of packages for almost all the Ascents. This is like my third or fourth one. And then finally, the playmats. So I got the Guoja Blessed Scion playmat. This is the little Guoja champion that with the art drawn by Gyul, who, as a lot of people know, friend of the channel. He's the person who designed the current version of our channel mascot, Katsumi, and he'll be helping me design the rest of the characters very shortly. But I wanted to get the playmat. So here's the Guoja playmat by Gyul. And then I wanted to get, well, the other new character, right? And so we got the Dao-chan playmat by Pinakes, which is another artist friend. So we'll kind of showcase this one as well. I should have got the level 1 Dao-chan because that was kind of like the breakout champion, but I'm a level 3 Andy. I like my level 3s, and plus the art is just really, really pretty. So, but you can't go wrong with Dao-chan. And here's the Dao-chan. Make sure this gets in focus. Yeah, look at that, dude. Very, very pretty. I would like Gyul and Pinakes to sign these someday, when next we meet in person. So yeah, that's kind of like my show and tell. We have some other things to talk about before we cap off this video. I know this one is a bit of a longer one, but got some cool stuff. This is one of the reasons why it's really fun to go to Ascent, because you end up with a bunch of really, really cool stuff. The playmats at the merch store, I think they were like 400 tickets, like event tickets, which is about like $40. So playmats are like about $40. So you could actually just play in a bunch of events and just get a bunch of tickets. Some people like Dan from Main Deck got a absolute absurd amount of tickets and ended up buying like an uncut sheet. But hey, if you just end up with a couple hundred tickets or whatever, you can get playmats, and then if you want to sell them, you can sell them, and you know, people buy them up because they are event exclusive, or at least Ascent exclusive. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into some of the other announcements. We don't have too much more to talk about, but we do have Ascent Boston was announced. So previously we had known that there was going to be a East Coast Ascent, and now we know that it is Boston. It's going to be on August 23rd and 24th, and I think I'm going to try to, or at least apply to do casting for this one. We'll have to see who kind of gets chosen for this, but I think I would like to do Boston. There's a couple other events that I'd like to do as well this year, including Worlds and Akihabara, but I think Boston would be really fun to do as well. Generally speaking, I just want to do more casting for Grand Archive, and I want to improve, and I want to just, you know, do more events and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens. I'm never offended if they choose someone else. I know they want to, you know, make it a little even, have other people go, but I would definitely love to do more casting, and I think Boston would be cool. I also would like to do the Canadian one as well. We also have Ascent Akihabara, which we already knew about. They did a little like a little funny trailer for it. And this is another one, obviously, that I'd very much love to go to. I think everyone wants to go to Akihabara. It's in Japan. I think Akihabara is fantastic. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I may or may not be able to go to this one as well. And then, of course, want to give a big shout out to the rest of the casting team. Main Deck Dan and Valkyrie. There was a very large zoom in on his face. I did not mean that. I apologize. I didn't realize it was gonna zoom in that big. But yeah, just a good shout out to the rest of the crew and all of the folks at like TM32, Shinja and Ken and everyone who helps make these shows what they are. Obviously couldn't do it without everyone. So I just want to give just a big shout out to the squad. All right, I'm just gonna take a video of this thing.
Yeah, it's really dope.
By the way, I don't know if I'm gonna vlog, but hey, look, here's Dan and Valkyrie. Hello, how's it going, guys? Shout out to the boys, Great job, guys. Yeah, and so we're gonna hop back to me. That's gonna be that for this week's Grand Archive news video. Have you all noticed? I've been trying to do news videos for Grand Archive every week, and I think I've been pretty consistent for like the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I'm gonna try to keep that up this year, generally speaking. Yeah, it's just something that I noticed. There's not a lot of news going out, and I was like, you know what? We could talk about some Grand Archive. I want to talk about the game anyway. So let me know what you think of the news videos. Let me know what you think of all of the news today, and like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.